It Had to Be Said podcast. We say out loud what you think in private. No topic is off limits. In today's podcast, we are going to be talking about prostitution and why I myself believe that prostitution should be fully legalized. To begin, there are certain countries where prostitution is fully legalized or a blind eye is turned towards prostitution. Let's take, for example, Europe. I first want to explain to you guys how prostitution works in Europe, specifically in Amsterdam, so you guys can understand the vision that I would have and how I would want it, or how I would say it should be operated here in the United States, just like it is operated in Amsterdam. In Amsterdam, they have what they call a red light district. And in the red light district, this is where all of the prostitution or that type of service takes place. The red light district is a section of Amsterdam where they have nothing but small hotels, and each one of these hotels has an owner, and the owner is not allowed to hire girls to work in those hotels. But what the owners are able to do is they're able to rent out the rooms, whether it's by the day, the hour, or by the month, to girls who actually work for themselves as prostitutes and provide their services. Now, how that works in Amsterdam is if you are a young lady or a young man and you're looking to provide a service and become a prostitute, you go there, you get a health check, you pay a business tax, you get a license, and then you're able to go into the red light district, provide your license along with your health check, which you have to do every 30 days. And then you're able to rent out the room for that day, that week, that month, or whatever you want, and you can go from one place to another place. If you're not happy with this particular hotel, you can go somewhere else. So you're not stuck in like a lease or anything else like that. And you provide your service. I think something like that would work awesome here in the United States. Because here in the United States, we have a huge problem with sexual assaults. Sexually assaults don't. We have a huge problem with women being sexually assaulted. And the reason I think that happens a lot here is because men are very sexually frustrated. There's very few outlets for men when they have their urges. And I'm not making excuse, and I'm not saying that's right, and that's the only reason why they do it. But I'm just saying that's one of the causes that I can see it happening, right? If you look at countries where prostitution is fully legalized or it's a blind eye is turned towards prostitution, you would see the level of sexual assaults against women are very, very low. And in some cases, it barely happens. Like when I go to Asia, you would see a woman walking in the streets, whether going to the shop, coming from work, or getting ready to go to work, or just even hanging out with friends at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And they don't worry about being snatched into a dark alley and being sexually assaulted because the men in those countries, they have outlets, whether it's the massage parlor, whether it's the K-pop place, or anywhere that they have many places that they can go to release themselves. Unlike here in the United States, prostitution is something that's done in dark alleys, on the dark web, and therefore you have these guys who are pimps. They manipulate young women, they manipulate older women, they get them hooked on drugs, and they throw them into that industry. And some of these women, they never make it out. And a lot of these pimps, they use drugs or violence as a way to keep women in that industry. Now, the sad thing about it is the women are using their bodies to make money for these pimps. Whereas in Europe, as well as in Asia, the women get to keep all the money for themselves. They provide the service and then they get to keep the money. And I don't see why here in the United States, if you are two consenting adults and you're a woman and you're willing to provide a service, and I'm a man and I'm willing to pay for that service, why is the government saying that service is illegal? You know? And I think if the government was to tax that service, I think if the government was to make that service perfectly legal and get a tax revenue off of it, it shouldn't be a problem or it shouldn't be an issue. it's kind of like, we always talk about, we need to have a smaller government, but yet the government's coming into the bedroom and saying what you can and cannot do. Uh, that's just my personal point of view on it. I'm not saying I'm right or wrong. I'm not making excuses for, assaults that happen. And I'm not saying it's okay for men to do that when just because they're frustrated. But what I am saying is, as a country, we need to take a look and say, okay, we've agreed to making marijuana legal, perfectly legal. We've allowed so many things to happen, and why is this one particular thing still illegal? I just, for me, I just don't understand that. If you think about some of the benefits to making this thing legal, first of all, there's a tax revenue for the government, so the government gets to make extra money off of it. We have a huge problem with STDs here in the United States. So if this becomes something that is perfectly legal and people are getting tested for STDs on a monthly basis, the chances of STDs spreading through that type of service would go down. And therefore, there could be a reduction in the type of STDs that we have. You also have to look at it from the point of view where men are sexually frustrated, or if a man wants to get a release, he doesn't necessarily have to see a woman and knock her over the head, drag her into a dark alley and do something. He can actually go somewhere, pay for the service, and get the release that he wants or that he needs. The other thing about it is you have certain women who actually are already in that industry by choice, and they want to be in that industry and they want to make money because they may not want to work a regular 9 to 5. They may not want to, become a college educated person. They may just want to just do that, make money, and work 2, 3 hours a day, whether it's a man or a woman, because women would probably pay for the service too, more than likely. I mean, they won't say it out loud, but it's probably a service that women would probably pay for. And if somebody wants to do that and they feel like that's the quickest way for them to make a couple extra dollars, if they're short on their rent or they just short on a car payment, or they just want to do it for a few months and then get out of it, why not? Why not? Why make it to where you make that type of job such a dirty and disgusting thing? If you look at it right now, I think a survey that was released for 2025 showed that well over 3 million American girls between the age of 18 and 25 are doing OnlyFans. They're literally selling their bodies and performing sexual acts online and making money out of it. But yet that's perfectly legal. But for two consenting adults to meet in person and that service be provided, why is that illegal? This is just my personal point of view. Like I said, I'm not saying I'm right, not saying I'm wrong. I'm not saying that this should be perfectly legal because I want to participate in this particular type of activity. But I just think that common sense wise and just overall the way you look at it, two adults should be able to make a decision to do something that doesn't hurt, harm, or kill anyone else, especially if it's something that they want to do. That's just my point of view. Now, remember, we do post new podcasts every Tuesday and Thursday. I don't expect you guys to agree with everything that I say. I'm not trying to convince you guys of anything that I'm saying. This is just a way for me to express my own personal point of view and thoughts on ideas that I have.